Good morning, everyone. There are a lot more of you in this service than the last one. Many more faces looking back at me. But it's great to see you all. I'm really glad you're all here. So, Psalm 23. Some of us probably know it pretty well. If you grew up in a church at all, it was probably one of the first bits of the Bible you started memorizing. Definitely was for me. I vividly remember being given a picture of it when I was a child at Sunday school. And I actually messaged my sister this week and was like, do you remember that picture of Psalm 23 that we all got given at Sunday school like 20 years ago? You don't still have it, do you? And she texted back and she was like, actually, you know what? I still do. So hopefully, yeah, here we go. Here's that picture from when I was in Sunday school. And you can work your way around the psalm with the picture. Starts with the sheep and the shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Then you can see the still water and a very content looking little sheep whose soul has been refreshed. Then it moves on to a little path with a sign that I'm pretty sure says paths of righteousness, but it was quite hard to see on zooming in the picture. And then we see a little sheep walking through the dark valley. And I suppose the not fearing evil is implied as the sheep is actually still walking through the valley. I would have turned around and been like, no, it's dark, I'm going. And next we've got leaning up against the tree, there's the rod and the staff. We move on to a banquet where the shepherd and sheep are sat having a great time, and there's a very angry looking sheep standing nearby glaring at them. And lastly, a big gold mansion, which isn't quite what I imagined God's house to be, even when I was a kid, but it does look pretty cool and impressive. So that's the picture of Psalm 23 I was given when I was probably about 7, maybe younger, and it stuck with me. So I was sat here thinking, what could I say about Psalm 23 that's new? What could I add to it? The answer is probably not a lot. But sometimes it's not about hearing something new, it's about rehearing stuff you've already heard that really helps it sink in. So what do we know about this psalm? What does it tell us about God? With him we have relationship. He's our supplier. He gives us rest, refreshment, healing, guidance, and purpose. Regardless of the reality, he gives us courage. We have protection. He gives us hope, and in him we have abundance, blessing, and security for eternity, which is a very long time. So we've seen what God is like. We know what a good shepherd is like. In John 10:11, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Spoiler alert, we know Jesus laid down his life for us. David probably didn't know that when he wrote this psalm, and yet he recognizes all the ways in which God is the good shepherd. He's covered pretty much all the bases. Of all those things listed in the psalm that God is for us and gives us, is there anything that we could add to it? Really, the answer is in the first line. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want, I lack nothing. So what does it mean to live out Psalm 23? To really walk in the truth of it? To wake up every day and think, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He's going to make me lie down in green pastures. He'll give me rest. He's going to lead me beside quiet and peaceful waters. He's going to restore my tired and weary soul, making it refreshed and new. Maybe you've come to church today and you feel weary. Maybe life is catching up with you and you feel a bit broken. It could be the drawn outness of this pandemic, which has gone on for a very long time. It could be general life or something else entirely. There might even be some who didn't make it here to the building to church today, or they're watching online at a later time because you just couldn't find the energy to get yourself here. Maybe you're watching online now or reading this at home because you physically can't come into the building. I don't know your situation, But I do know that Jesus is your shepherd, and no matter where you are, he can be your rest, and he can restore your soul. In Matthew 11:28, it says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And I wonder how many of us fit into that category and could really do with experiencing God's deep, soul-refreshing and restoring rest. I looked up the definition of restore. It means to re-establish or return something to its former condition, to fix or mend it, to make it new. It doesn't mean that things will magically get better, but there's a deep-rooted peace and reassurance that comes from taking things to God. And he guides us, which I personally am very grateful for. But I don't think it's a forced guiding. I think it's more of a gentle guiding, nudging us in the way we should go, but leaving us room to make those decisions for ourselves too. He doesn't force us down a path. And sometimes that guidance is more obvious than others. But no matter what, he gives us purpose and courage to stay the course. And most importantly of all, he will always lead us home, to the biggest party of eternity. What about the Jeremiah 23 passage? There's a bit of a challenge, isn't there? I know it was written to speak into Jeremiah's context, but I think we can apply it to our lives today too. Woe to those who are destroying and scattering my sheep, you who have scattered and driven away my flock. So how do we shepherd people? Who do we shepherd? It says God's people, but really I think we can extend that to everyone. So I want us to think about how we as individuals shepherd others, and perhaps how as the church we shepherd others. The dictionary says to shepherd means to, well, obviously look after actual sheep, which I know some in the congregation do actually have actual sheep. I grew up looking after sheep and loved it. But with people, it just means to give guidance to someone. What could we do more of to gather people in rather than push them away? Are we imitating God's way of shepherding and caring when we interact with others, in the ways we love and nurture them? Or do we have a tendency to forget some of the ways God cares for us, and instead of drawing people in, we push them away? When people come into church, do they find it's a place of rest and quiet streams? Do they find comfort for their souls? Is it a place they feel welcomed and acknowledged, seen and listened to? Do we point them towards the Good Shepherd in whose presence they will fear no evil? I know I can think of times, with regret, where I've not been a good shepherd, where I've got so caught up in trying to say the right thing, to bring things in from the Bible or to fix it, that I forgot the person in front of me. I forgot to walk quietly beside them and just hear them. I got so caught up in the theory that I missed the practice. Because every situation is incredibly nuanced, and there is no set formula for people, because everyone and their circumstances are different. And I can think of times when churches have got it wrong too. It's inevitable that as humans, we get it wrong. We say the wrong thing, we make snap judgments, drive people away instead of drawing them in. But the good news is we can always try again. Learn from those times we say the wrong thing, and sadly when we hurt others, and come back next time. And in Jeremiah it says, God will gather them and tend to them, so they will no longer be afraid or terrified. So thankfully it doesn't stop just with us, but God is always there, coming alongside. So my challenge to you today is to think about people, maybe especially those on the fringes, who you could shepherd well, who you could draw in, because that's who we want to be, a people who look out for others, who care for them and love them. We want to be a place where they feel safe, and we can be that individually as well as being that as the church. And most importantly, draw yourself near to the Good Shepherd, Jesus, who restores your soul, blesses you, and guides you forever. As I finish, I want to reread Psalm 23. Some time ago, some of you might remember that Glyn read it, and after each line or half line, he kind of put an all-encompassing word to it. So I'm going to read something similar to that. The Lord is my shepherd. That's relationship. I shall not want. That's supply. He makes me lie down in green pastures. That's rest. He leads me beside the still waters. That's refreshment. He restores my soul. That's healing. He leads me in the paths of righteousness. That's guidance. For his name's sake. That's purpose. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. That's reality. I will fear no evil. That's courage. For you are with me. That's faithfulness. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. That's protection. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. That's hope. You anoint my head with oil. That's commitment. My cup overflows. That's abundance. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. That's blessing. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord. That's security. Forever. That's eternity.